Hello, welcome back to All For United WSC. It's been a while, hasn't it? It's been one of the longest gaps between shows we've had for about probably over 2 years that we've been doing this. But international break, and just thought we'd have a little bit of a break. We've got other things to go on as well, which I'm sure we'll speak about over the coming weeks when it gets more further down the line on a few other things that we're working on as well. We are here to obviously talk about Brighton on Sunday. WSL's finally back for a few weeks, and then at the end of this month, it's off again for more internationals. But that's a whole other conversation. So we've actually got a Brighton rep with us this time, because last season I don't think we had one for the two fixtures, three actually, obviously with the semi-final as well. So Sean, thank you for coming on. Obviously, if you, I guess, just want to introduce yourself. Obviously, if people may have seen you on Twitter, because obviously you are with Vanvel as well, which we've had a few representatives. It's like a Vanvel takeover on this channel now. We're almost like in partnership with each other with the amount of you guys coming on here these days. But yeah, if you want to introduce yourself, obviously your connections with Brighton and all those kinds of things.
Yeah, evening everyone. Thank you so much for having me on. Great to be here. So I'm actually from Wales, Cardiff born and bred. Obviously makes absolutely no sense why I support Brighton, but Dad comes from Brighton, so I had absolutely no other option but to support them. Supported them for a while. It's still weird calling Brighton a European club, but no, all good. That's how my connection with Brighton, and I've been a journalist here based in Wales for a good couple of years, so I cover the Welsh game. I know a lot of Welsh Man United players are there, and being able to speak to them a couple of times over the past couple of seasons has been good. But really looking forward to this one.
That's good to say. Obviously, Carrie Jones obviously now gone, but obviously she was there. Obviously, Saf is down there. Hayley Ladd, Gemma Evans. We've got a few United represent Wales. So, maybe that's something we'll get into actually later on, because we've got quite a few there. Obviously, Ladd is somebody we will talk about because she is back as well. Something completely unrelated to the game, and I didn't even know if I was going to ask this or not, but I've decided I'm going to, because it came out earlier on. And Sean, I don't know whether you're aware of this. Obviously, I put it in one of our chats, Barry, so you've probably seen it, even though I'm well aware you've probably not seen much of her as a player. Man United linked to Pyle from Wolfsburg. Now, this is not a transfer I ever thought I would see. It's a dream transfer for me, by all means. It's somebody I'd love, and trust me, I do not think this is going to happen in the slightest. But has anyone got any thoughts on this? Because I saw this earlier, and again, this might be just things that we see on Twitter and so on. But the number that's been spoken of would be world record, 600 to 700,000. That's a lot of cash in the women's game as well. But there we go. Perfect timing. Yes, so obviously PSG were the other club that has been linked as well. Do you think we're in for it? I think, the interest is probably there. Obviously, Carolyn now has done her ACL, so she's now out of the picture for a January move. But I guess, Barry, if you've got any thoughts on this one, again, just if you've seen it, that's great. But if not, I mean, just the fact that United are linked to such a high-profile forward for, again, what would be a world record fee on this one.
Do you know what? It's hilarious, Connor, because you're sitting again, wow, high-profile player. She's going to be amazing. I've not got a clue you're talking about. This could be Mrs. Hobbs down the road on Tilsley Avenue up somewhere in that. I've not got a Scooby. But what I do know is he's playing for Wolfsburg, because you just said that. And genuinely, that is one of the better sides in Europe. Even I know that as a bit of a noob to the European game. But it really comes down to what we say about all the managers all the time, which is that they will live and die by their decisions. And that's absolutely what will happen here. Mark Skinner has to do his best to try and get the best names in. And to be completely fair to him, he's been in the transfer market and got some pretty big names playing from some very different countries. He was Muller, I suppose, really, being called Brexit FC or Lionesses FC, just because we always had the Lionesses playing. But actually, I think he does go and look for the best in class each time. And, looking at some of the players that have come in, the likes of Geyse, Melvine Millard as well, looking at her, Guerrero, Nelson, we do go around looking for some of the best players we can find. So if she's as good as you're making it sound, and I would definitely bow to your expertise on that one, then, it's a really good thing. So it says about Jay's being pushed out to the right. I think the front three have been relatively fluid anyway. I don't think Galton specifically moves, but the other two, the ones in the middle and the right, certainly seem to. So, I think for me, that would be lovely. it's nice. Carolyn alternative. Why not? You know, we don't want Carolyn if she's got a gammy knee. That's not going to help. We've got a couple of those ourselves. So we don't need to add to it. Otherwise, people will be calling us Arsenal. So, yeah, there we go.
Just to give you an idea, she scored 78 and 103 in the league for Wolfsburg and 57 in 72 for Poland. Like, it's stupid stats for a play. Again, like I said, for me, that she's like a player I wouldn't even consider coming to United at the stage we're at, and where she's only 26 as well, coming up to her prime as well. I just can't see it. Like, I'm not playing United down or anything, but I can't see like a player like her at United. Again, absolutely love it, but yeah, I'm not too sure. I mean, Sean, have you got any thoughts on this? Were you surprised? I don't know if you've seen the rumour, but obviously that came out a few hours ago. Are you surprised on that one? What's your thoughts on that?
I did see it this afternoon. I thought, surely not. Surely not. I think the PSG link makes a lot more sense. But obviously, we want to see the best players in the world playing in the WSL. And Pio is certainly one of the best players. And the goal scoring record speaks for itself. But if it was linked to Chelsea or if it was linked to Arsenal, I perhaps would find it a little bit more believable. That's because of the European. I think it's crucial that Manchester United get into Europe to get someone like Pio. If they're in Europe next year, I can't see it happen because I think there is a release clause or something of about 500,000. So
yeah, so that was the thing that was in the article, that the fee this summer was being spoken about between 600 and 700. I think her release clause was like $1 million or something close to that anyway. But 600 to 700 was the fee, but the release clause goes down to 500 next summer. Which, to be fair, if again I believe this because it's kind of what I got told off the record as well, the Carolyn fee was not far off that. So if we're willing to put that up for Carolyn, that release clause fee is not out of the question. But that doesn't always mean the transfer happens because the player's got to agree to it as well. So there's two sides. Sorry, carry on. that little bit of context as well.
No, I think if it gets pulled off, and huge if, but that is a statement of intent and a half from Manchester United as a club. So it'd be great if it does happen, but I'm sceptical about if it does or not.
That's the word, skeptical for the time being. I think I am. I just want to keep an eye on. But to be honest, I'm just glad United are in that kind of conversation. You know, I believe that it's true. I think United probably did because North Carolina were not budging on Carolyn no matter how much money we were throwing at it. So we needed alternatives. And I think, it's not a bad alternative going for one of the best forwards in Europe from Wolfsburg. So, one to keep an eye on, that's for sure. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know either, Barry, what sport is talking about.
Well, I googled it whilst you were chatting about this lady who I've not heard of before, and I don't really know what to make of it. I'm going to read you the first little bit of Wikipedia. It says he was a fictional character, advertised as the first computer-generated TV presenter. So, not entirely sure what he's saying there. It's this next bit that gets me. Max was known for his biting commentary on a variety of topical issues, arrogant wit, stuttering, and pitch-shifting voice. So, I'm thinking that what he's saying here is that I've had a bit of a stutter and the internet's still playing me for a fool. Either that, there you go, it's your stalling Wi-Fi. So, I'm having a bit of a problem. I've only got one VAR. I don't know what's going on. I think it must be the storm. But having said that, like the guy, you're in Wales, you said, didn't you? North Wales, South Wales?
I'm in Cardiff, so South Wales.
Yeah, so maybe a little bit higher than me. So, yeah, these two Midlanders are doing all right, but us down the south are getting battered at the minute. So,
I was going to say, it is like playing like an old PS1 game or something, like with the pitch, with the frame. But the good thing is we can hear what Barry's saying, which is
as long as you can
better.
hear me, that's great. Yeah, nobody wants to see me anyway, to be honest with you. I think it's a stupid idea having my face on here, but there we go.
For the people on Spotify, this is going to be brilliant. They're not going to know what the problem is. Like,
True. True story, bro.
So, we'll put up with it because we can hear what Barry's saying, and that is the most important thing on that one. Maybe we'll just do what some people do when they come on here and just camera off. I don't know. But it'd be better if we can see him, that's for sure. So, I don't know. Right, we'll move on to Brighton then. Obviously, that's why we're we're here. So Sean, I'll just throw it over to yourself to start with. Brighton this season, what have you made of them so far?
I think there was a lot of talk going into it. A lot of people having Brighton down as this sort of dark horse that, oh, you know what? They could go 6th. They could even finish 5th. And I think that was a bit, as much as I'd love to get on that bandwagon and hype us up, I just don't think it's a realistic thing, you know. Only just stayed up last season. A lot of change over the summer as well. You know, some United players have come over to us. But yeah, I think a win against Everton at the start of the season, I thought we played really, really well. And then West Ham and Tottenham really trailed off. And then lost away to Chelsea, which, you know, that's not going to be our season, away to Chelsea. I think there have been some bright sparks, but there's also a lot of work to do. But yeah, I'm in a bit of the middle. I don't really know what to expect. Should we be having more points? Should we not? But there is a lot of quality in this team. Don't get me wrong. I think Mel Phillips is an excellent manager. It's just with the summer we've had so many changes, so much experience leaving. It's just about putting everything together, everyone being on the right track. Once we get that, I think Brighton will be A-OK for the rest of the season.
There was a collective almost like cheer around the ground when we were at Everton away when Brighton took the lead at Chelsea, because it was like, oh, like something's happening here. I think we were 4-0 up at the time or something, because you kicked off an hour later than us. We must have been it was either 3 or 4-0 when that goal went in. I think there was this cheer around, and I turned to Jess and just said, Chelsea are not losing this. They're just not. And obviously did go on to win with a Nuskin hat trick, I think it ended up with as well, which considering she's a defensive midfielder, that was pretty impressive. So maybe we'll talk a little bit. Yeah, but that's why I asked that question. So I'm kind of looking at Brighton. Obviously, you mentioned beating Everton away, good result, but then losing at home to West Ham, and it's like West Ham are a team I picked them to go down, to be honest. It's looking a bit iffy now, that one already, 4 or 5 games in, but obviously, and then the Birmingham game, and then, as you mentioned, Spurs and Chelsea. Yeah, Spurs are on hot form and Chelsea away. Most teams are going to lose to Chelsea away this season, so I don't think anything on that one. We'll come back to obviously some of the United players and that have gone there. Obviously, Thor and Bagley, and there's a couple of other players I want to speak about as well. But Barry, how are you feeling from a United point of view? Just as we hit the ground running with a 5-0 win, the international break hit after a couple of draws and obviously the defeat in Paris. But yeah, how are you feeling going into this one?
Yeah, sod's law, that one, wasn't it? Yeah, let's be honest. I mean, Sean seems like a lovely chap and he's just come in, so I don't want to upset the poor guy. But, I mean, this is one we should be winning, really, isn't it? I mean, I very rarely put on the we should be winning a match type glasses, purely because, football doesn't work that way. Anyone can beat anyone. But they've not had the greatest of starts, and we know that the side that we were last season, we were winning these games, and when I say these games, I mean basically any game that wasn't Chelsea. We were winning these games. We had the ability to get these points. We can't afford to mess around anymore. We're 2 points behind already. We're only a few games in. So, we need to make sure that we continue the form that we ended that last little batch of games with. So for me, yeah, vital, absolutely vital that we go out there and win it, and we should. Like, they won 1 game so far out of the 4, and that was the first game of the season. They might have done well. I'm sure they've got the ability to cause us problems, but if we get a settled defence, and honestly, I know that Imara's talking about not talking about the last game, and we're horrible and all that sort of stuff. Get that, totally get that. But my argument all along has been that we were changing the defence a little bit too much. Sticking Hannah Blundell onto the right flank wasn't ideal for her. It was giving me sort of Maria Thorisdottir sort of vibes when that was happening, because she wasn't 100%. But we put her back at left back in that game. Millie Turner, May Letitia was together. Mary Earps. The only change was Riviere to be at right back. And genuinely, I think that's going to be a bonus towards helping us. We've been letting in some shocking goals, really, and not being as good defensively as we were last season. I think that actually keeping Hannah at left back, and it's the wrong wording, but maybe even Gabby George having the injury that she's had, maybe it sort of forces Mark Skinner's arm in that respect of having to put Hannah at left back, which will, I think, hopefully help us to be a better defensive unit. And if that's the case, then I can't see Brighton causing us huge numbers of difficulties. Having said that, this is Manchester United, and just about anything can happen on Island Manchester United at the moment. So nothing would surprise me. We'll probably go there and get tonked 6-0 now. I finally bigged them up, which I very rarely do. But yeah, for me, I think we should be winning it. I won't give you my score prediction just yet because that'll spoil the last 5 minutes of the show for you. But yeah.
I think that's it. When you're looking at the, obviously in these games, United have got a pretty good record. Only lost the once since the inception, obviously a few years ago as well. That 1-0 defeat in 2021. I'm just looking at now. But obviously in recent time, this fixture last season, obviously 4-0 away win, and again pretty convincing. I think was that the one where Garcia came off the bench and had a brilliant. It was Williams. Yeah, Williams and Garcia came on and scored late on, obviously to make it for. But as you were saying, last season we were winning majority of these types of games. Only Everton at home really was the only one that I can think of. In fact, it is, isn't it? Because we drew to Everton, drew to City, and lost the 2 Chelsea games. So we've already had our draw. Our Everton draw, which was Leicester. We can't afford to drop any more points if we're really serious about going for the title again. We've got to be winning these types of games. So Sean, again, throw it back over to yourself in terms of what are Brighton's, I guess, aims this season, expectations and things like that. Obviously, staying in the league is obviously, I think, pretty much a given for this Brighton side. Maybe it wasn't last season so much. Go a bit closer than maybe Brighton would have wanted to that drop zone, Spurs included. What's kind of the aims this season? You mentioned a lot of changes and things like that, but obviously where you are in the table, where are you kind of looking towards as a successful season this year?
I think success actually isn't the league position. I think obviously staying up is what we want, and I think we will do that. But I think success for us is finding that identity, because I think there's a lot of links at the moment with the women's team that we can look back to the men's team and sort of that we can see different stages. Because I think you look at what Chris Hughton did when he came in at Brighton, help stabilise, help us grow, make that step up. And I think Hope Powell did a lot of that work on the women's side. And then Graham Potter came in and took us to a different level. And I think that's what Mel Phillips is sort of there to do now. I think we have to find an identity. We have to sort of know what we're doing when we're on the pitch. And I think there is a sense that we are starting to see it, but it's just a little too early on because obviously coming in so late, she had one job last season, that was to keep us up. And she did that. And we had some decent results along the way. This season is about Mel Phillips implementing a style of play that Brighton fans can say, right, that's the way Brighton play. That's the Brighton way. We can get behind that. And I think that is more important than any league position this season, just so we can have a style of play. We can see the young players coming through and that just grow for the future. This is purely a stepping stone season, I think.
Mel Phillips, certainly around women's football, is highly regarded. I know that, and a lot of people just speak highly of her anyway. So I'd like to see Brighton just to continue to grow, that's for sure. So Vic has kind of led me on nicely, Barry, into talking about the midfield. And the only reason I wasn't going to bring up the midfield until the United story that came out. Obviously, I say story. United post earlier their preview they did saying that Hayley Ladd is obviously back available, as well as Geyse Galton, who I'll get to in a bit. What would you be doing with this midfielding? Because obviously we're looking at Hayley Ladd was a staple last season. That Ladd-Zellum Toon combination. This season, as we said in the last kind of shows, we've seen so many combinations. But the one that worked against Everton was obviously Zellum, Miyazawa, and Toon. Would you be looking to bring Ladd back in? Would you be keeping with what give me words out? What worked against Everton? What would you be looking to do from that point of view?
Yeah, so for the benefit of those on Spotify that didn't see my head gesturing there, no, I would not be changing the team. So therefore, I would not be putting Hayley Ladd in. It will come as zero surprise. Watch them; they're coming in now. The comments will be rolling in. Oh, he's on about rotation again. No, we don't need to rotate. Number one, it was 2 weeks ago that we played the game, so there's no need for rotation based on how they are feeling. And more importantly, we've just said it. We don't have the opportunity to mess around. The side that played against Everton did well. They put up a lot of chances. They did pretty good. There's an argument for potentially a change in the front three. But I also like to believe that people should be rewarded for having done well. And I think when you finally had a result that's 5-0, a comfortable win, all of those things, the team should be absolutely rewarded for that. I mean, if you just take it back to its base level. If you were one of those 11 players that started that game, and then you get told, "Oh no, sorry, you're not starting this next one against Brighton," you've got, in my opinion, a really valid point to be arguing with Mark Skinner and saying, "But why? What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong?" And I don't think anybody there has got the right to be dropped. It's up to other people to earn that shirt off of them, or for these players to lose the shirt once they've got it. So for me, absolutely, I would start with the three that started that: Tooney, Zellerman, and Miyazawa. And then if the others have the opportunity to jump in, the others have the opportunity to jump in. And when they come in as subs, that's when they need to try and take their chance and try and take the shirt off of these players. So yeah, for me, I'd keep it absolutely as it is. There's nothing wrong with Hayley Ladd being on the bench. That's not a drama whatsoever. She's been there before. I'm sure she'll be there again. It's the same for almost every player that's playing, with the exception of Mary Earps. They're used to the bench at times. So I think for me, you've got to keep it the same. I said it the other week. The ability to have a side that has that match fitness is huge. And in the women's game, they don't get that necessarily. And if you drop somebody out, like if they didn't play the week before the internationals, and then they don't play in the international fortnight either, that's 3 weeks when they haven't played a proper match. And you get rusty. You absolutely do over that time. So you need that ability to have the match fitness. But for me, you just keep it absolutely the same. We've won 5-0. If you need to change it during the game, that's what game management's all about.
No, for sure. I agree. I think Ladd probably comes in on the bench. And again, it's not a bad option to have off the bench either. But I would be sticking with that same midfield for sure. I can see hardly a comment about Geyse. I want to come back to her and Galton as a separate kind of bit as well, because I agree with Barry. I think if one of them is going to come in, it's probably going to be her. And just very quickly,
I'm very much away from it because I knew that was going to be your next bit. See, that's how in sync we are. I just believe he's going there next.
We've been doing this a long time. And yet, in response to that comment, I think we'll probably hear more on this in Mark Skinner's press conference tomorrow. But I'm pretty confident in saying I wouldn't expect to see her this weekend and for the next couple. But
let's be honest, you don't wear a brace for a giggle, do you? So it's either one of two things. It's either the worst Halloween costume that anybody ever thought up in the history of the world, or she's got a bit of an injury. It's one of the two, isn't it?
Exactly. So yeah, no, she's going to be out. She's not playing this weekend. I think that's the simple thing and what I can say. But Sean, obviously, speaking of Hayley Ladd, obviously, as you said at the start, obviously you cover Wales and you spoke to a few of the girls there and everything else. What have you made of Hayley Ladd? Obviously, last season, this season, she's maybe not playing a key role as she had last season. What's your kind of thoughts on that in terms of how United, I guess, are utilising her a bit less this season compared to last?
I adore Hayley Ladd so much. I think she, in United last season, I think even for Wales, she is such an underrated. She's never talked about component, and she does have a side to say. I find it really weird because for Wales, she plays as a centre back. I've never known her to play outside of centre back for Wales, and she plays alongside Gemma Evans at the back, obviously another United player. But she spoke this international window, so I had a chance to speak to her, asking whether she likes to play midfield or defence more, and she said she does prefer midfield, and I can see that. I think the way she can be a general in that midfield, I really admire. But obviously, going along with what you're saying, I think at the moment, I wouldn't have changed that Man United midfield at all. If you're just coming off a 5-0 win, why bother changing it? As much as I think Hayley Ladd does bring a lot of good components to this Man United side, I just don't see how you can change a 5-0 midfield. From a Brighton perspective, I'd love it if you've changed it. I think that's brilliant. But no, I wouldn't change it. But no, I think Hayley Ladd is such a good player for Manchester United, and I'm sure she'll get minutes throughout the season. But for this upcoming one, I wouldn't change it at all.
No, that's a fair point. I think, yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? Like you said, obviously, plays to. Is it in back three for Wales? I think it isn't. From what I've seen,
it's a back three as far as back five against Denmark. Normally a back four. So I'd rather not talk. We're dire straits at the moment. But, normally a back four.
Trust me, I follow Scotland, and they're not doing much better either. So we're going down into Group B. We are so. Or Category B, whatever the Nations League, whatever it works.
I'm sorry. Wow. I've got We've had a Connor moment, and I've got to delve into this. You follow Scotland.
It's where most of my family are from, so I don't particularly.
Before I get done for xenophobia or something like that, because obviously my granddad was Scottish as well. My point with this isn't that he follows Scotland at all. It's just, if you remember 2 years ago, we were going to do we did like a little tester for the prediction league. So for the Euros, we did a Euros prediction league. And I distinctly remember before it going on, Connor's exact words were, well, I can't use his exact words because we're a family show, but I hate internationals. Hate was the word. Hate.
Oh yeah, I do. I still do.
Over the course of 2 years, I follow Scotland. So this has come as a bit of a shock to me.
Oh yeah, no, I still do. I'd rather we just bin them off anyway. But if I had to, it would be Scotland. I'd follow. Don't know. I just prefer the team.
Well, got the connections. Connor Roberts is a strong Welsh name.
You say that if Jess is
I'm Barry, which of course I've got my own island in Wales.
Connor Roberts does play right back for Wales.
I was going to say, yeah.
He fit in seamlessly into our system.
See, if Jess was in the comments now on the live or on here, she'd protect my middle net or my double barrel middle. It's not even a middle name; it's all connected to my surname, which I don't say on here. John Commode might know actually in the comments. Yeah, that's got a bit of Scottish and Irish connection in there as well. But see, John, if you go down this road, you go down the whole. Why do we support United? Because we're not from Manchester and all that kind of stuff. So it's a dangerous one, that one. And yes, Erling, we're as bad as Norway. Because I know maybe not as quite. Well, yeah. So there's my little admission for the show out of the way. I'm sure we'll ask you all the burger questions.
I'll just pleased to see how much you've grown. A little bit of maturing, like a fine cheese.
And yes, Ian is right. Less international, though. Thank God. I mean, we've still got the Olympics. Not that. Just very quickly while we're on this topic, does anyone else find that really weird? The fact that the last game of the Nations League, Scotland might have to let England win to have any chance of any Scottish players getting into Team GB because England might need the win on the last game. How mental is that?
I don't understand. There is something about that, and I'm thinking to myself, Mary Earp did an interview, didn't she, saying about qualification for the Olympics, and it makes absolutely no sense, seeing as how the Olympics would be a great British side.
Yeah, it's England are the team that are it's really bizarre. I don't know how they've done it. I'm assuming it's because England are the highest ranked, but England are the team that have to qualify for the whole of GB to get in. It's yeah.
I'll be honest. As a Welsh person, there are views I have on Team GB, and put it this way, I'd be very happy if Scotland ruined England's chances. We'll just put it like that.
Well, that's what I said. Can you imagine that last game of the thing and Scotland deny England, and then in doing so, the likes of Erin Cuthbert, who I imagine is on the fringe of getting in Team GB, Caroline, well she's out, isn't she? But players like that, it's a tough one. But I'm with Sporty. I'd rather we just don't have it at all, and the players can rest. To be honest, because we've already had Euros, World Cup. Let's have a year off for some of our players. So, yeah.
But this again with what Ian's saying, this is what I just don't get. How are you qualifying for the Olympics? Well, I know that when you're running, you have to have a certain time to qualify, but this is just football. Just let everybody play.
It's mental, isn't it? And I agree with Ian's comment though. UEFA shouldn't have allowed two teams in the same nation to be in the same group.
But then equally, have UEFA got anything to do with the Olympics?
I don't know who. Well,
the Olympics is like the IOC. What's that got to do with UEFA and FIFA and any other fuck you want to come up with?
This is above our pay grade, this, I feel.
It's mad. Absolutely mad.
It certainly is. And yeah, obviously, it's just mental. United running out of Scotland reps, obviously, with Hansen and Thomas moved on. So just Watson, and she got injured while with Scotland. She's really annoying. There we are. I can't remember what the conversation was. Who we talking? We were talking about Ladd, weren't we?
Brighton.
I know. I know that. I don't know.
We had the midfield chat last. I think you were about to go to the Geyse Galton conversation.
We were, and Sean, I'm going to come back to you in a bit with a burger question, which the people in the comments will be so delighted to hear. So just prepare yourself for that in about 20 minutes' time. It's a fun one. Barry, Jason Galton then. So Galton have someone mentioned in the chat earlier that Brighton is essentially Galton's fixture. Since Mark Skinner's came in, she's scored in I think all but one of the 5 or 6 times we've played. 5 times we've played them, she's scored in all but one of those. So Galton has a pretty good record against Brighton. Geyse, again, a player that we've seen hasn't scored yet. Obviously, has got the goal contribution, but has looked very good as well. What would you be doing with those two? Because as you rightly said in the last piece, rewarding players for good performances. Paris was exceptional against Everton. Mallard is obviously she's scoring as well at the moment, and Garcia was pretty good off the left hand side as well. So this is probably a tough one. What would you be doing with Galton and Geyse in this particular one?
It's a really tough one. And the reason why it's tough is because, again, I stick by what I said. You have to give the rewards to the players. And if you're Nikita Paris again, you're going to be constantly told, I would imagine, that Mark Skinner is sat there on the side going, you've got to take your chances, Keats. Anytime you go on that pitch, just show them what you can do, win that shirt. And I think, you go then against Everton, score 2 goals. Again, rightly, you could be a bit hacked off if you're not allowed to start. Because, well, what more do I need to do? I need to score 3? What do I need to do? So, yeah, I would be tempted again to just stick with those 3, genuinely, because, you can change games. You don't have to keep it the same all the way through. You can change it at any point. But having said that, they're big names. Then when you start saying, well, that means Leah Galton's not going to be playing, that means Geyse isn't going to be playing. We mentioned Hayley Ladd. They're 3 big names. And it feels almost a bit odd to not have one of them playing. But my argument would be is that Geyse hasn't scored as yet. So, I don't think anybody can really sit there and go, well, she has to play because she's a goal machine. Well, she might well be, but she's not yet. We still need to put 50p in to make it work, or plug it in, one of the two. I don't know what it is, but eventually she'll be cooking. And then, of course, Leah Galton, who has scored, and as you say rightly, has got historically a very good record against Brighton. So they're both good options. If I'm honest, I think Keats probably is going to be the one to get the hook, would be my guess, and I reckon Geyse will probably start. I wouldn't be surprised if Galton starts and Mallard drops to the bench as well. And instead it's Keats and Melvin that have to come off the bench and try and change the game. But I think if that happens, and people are going to be surprised when they say this, because this isn't the sort of thing I usually say on this show, but I think if that does happen and he drops those 2 to let the other 2 just walks back in, I think that's poor form from Mark Skinner, because the team have gone out there, won 5-0. I think they've got a right to start the next game at the very least, and then be given the opportunity to continue their good form.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Paris, should stay. I think the one I would probably be happy with him changing is Garcia. I think if there's anyone in that, Mallard, I think I would like to see it start again. But then if you're bringing, I think Geyse, what I want to see, I can't believe I'm saying this. I want to see Paris on the right, Mallard down the middle, Galton on the left, purely again because of Galton's record. And I think Paris has earned it, and Mallard obviously has as well.
Do you think? Sorry, Sean, we were not trying to freeze you out of the show here, but do you not think that sticking Paris then out to the right negates what she actually did, because she scored her 2 goals whilst being the focal point, as opposed to being out on the right? Whereas you could argue we haven't necessarily seen the best of the Keats. We do see, glimmers of it, but in terms of scoring lots of goals,
I'm not sure. I just think goals. I think you've got to find a place for Galton. Geyse, I'd be less worried about too much. She did go away with Brazil. I think she played 45 minutes in the first half against Canada in the first game. I don't think she played in the second. Mallard and Paris obviously didn't go away with international, so they're fresh. Garcia did. I think she scored against Switzerland in the most recent one on Tuesday. What I want to see is Galton, Mallard, and Paris. What I think he'll do is Mallard, Geyse, and Galton. And I think Paris and Garcia will both come out. So I agree with you. I don't think that's right, because and the thing is, if it goes wrong, it's not like they're not in the squad. This thing on United's website earlier said that they're going to be traveling, they're going to be in the squad. So I would imagine that they're fit and ready to play. obviously with Geyse, she went away with Brazil, so she's fit enough and ready to play. So I don't think sticking her on the bench, and if it's still 0-0 or 1-0 down or something like that, bring her on. And she can make an impact off the bench, and she might actually be better doing that against a tired defence. We saw last season with Garcia how good she was coming off the bench. I'm not saying that for the whole season. We paid 300,000, for Geyse. She's got to be starting at some point. But I think at the moment, with the amount of games we've got in November as well, with the Conti Cup now as well, I don't think it's a bad thing. Bringing Geyse off the bench and leaving Paris, Mallard, and Galton. But I'm not sure. I mean, we can incorporate you into this, Sean. What from a Brighton point of view, what would you rather face, in that front line, or what's your kind of thoughts on this whole kind of conversation with that lot?
Well, I'm just sitting here as a Brighton fan thinking, God, it must be so nice having these conversations, all these options. Oh, my heart bleeds for you. Have to admit, as a Brighton fan, the trio that would scare me the most is Geyse, Galton, and Mallard. I've been really impressed with Mallard, and I just think that the fluidity between all those three would cause me a lot of concern. I think with Paris, Garcia, and another, I feel like Mel Phillips will have a plan for that. I feel like Brighton could negate that more, but the fluidity that those three would give you would really fear me as a Brighton fan. But again, it's just very nice that you have all these options, and you're not going to have a bad option up front, put it that way.
I mean, that would be my ideal front three. If you said to me, pick three people to start a game to save your life. Well, actually, no. If it was to save my life, I'd swap Geyse for Rachel Williams because Rachel's scored. But generally, if it was just pick your three that you'd like to have the most, I'd have gone with that. Geyse, Galton, and Mallard. Absolutely.
And 100% agree, NC, with your comment here. With the men's side, I'm looking at going, I don't want any of them playing. Whereas with the women's, but it's not, we're saying Geyse on the bench and so on. It's not because she's been bad or anything. It's because other players have been better, and that's what you want. I want Geyse to come back in and go and score a couple and go, well, I should be starting next week. Obviously we've got Everton next week, obviously in the Conti as well. So yeah, I think we've got plenty of good options there as well. A player I wanted to quickly mention, obviously, for Brighton. There's plenty of players to mention. Obviously, Bremer's another one. I can't believe, by the way, that Brighton got her. She's come off the back of a Champions League final with Wolfsburg, and then she goes to Brighton in the summer afterward. That's just crazy to me. Obviously, people on this channel know I've got my Scandi hat on sometimes, and I do like the Norwegian squad. So I will just obviously ask you, Sean, how impressed you've been with the woman on the thumbnail, Elizabeth, obviously Turland, the attacker. I think she's second top scorer in the WSL on 4. I think she is. She's on 4, so she's second top scorer already. But yeah, what have you made of her in this game? I think earlier made a comment earlier on saying that she's going to be the main threat from a Brighton point of view.
Yeah, I think she's been absolutely superb. Obviously, she had an injury sort of at the beginning of last season, was phased back in, and then scored some crucial goals in the run-up to the end of the season last season under Mel Phillips. And she's just hit the ground running. She can score goals. This is just what she does. And she's just been this reliable person up top for us. She's gone every game apart from the West Ham game so far this season. And she just finds a way of getting through. She can pick a weakness in a defence and she'll latch onto it and she'll try and use it to her advantage. I think she does have players around her that can certainly provide her the service now. But yeah, I think Turland's been by far our best player. And I think she's in the whole WSL, I think she's a really underrated striker as well. I would love to see her at a bigger club than Brighton in terms of because I just would love to see what she can do. But yeah, if you're talking about a danger woman, it's certainly going to be Turland for us.
She's only 22 as well, so still got that kind of growing. Obviously, with Norway, she's going to be getting that, learning off of when she turns up. Obviously, Hegerberg at Norway as well, which is one of the best finishes the women's game has seen in her as well. So she's certainly getting the, I guess, experience there.
So what I'm hearing here, and
God.
forgive me if I've got this wrong, is that when Man United go in for a player from Wolfsburg, we've got no chance. But a player from Wolfsburg just decided that, the Brighton Riviera was the place to be. They
see the pier, they see the lovely skyline, they see the Brighton Rock, and they think, you know what? That's the place for me. That I love that. So honestly, I'm still absolutely baffled
very
as to
wrong.
why we've signed her. But I am loving it. I absolutely love that she's there.
We need to swap the Trafford Centre for a pier. Swap the Morrisons for a fish and chip shop. Nice.
It's a crazy sign. I mean, she did openly say, didn't she? I know she's had a sketchy injury history as well, but Bremer, obviously, I'm talking about here. She did say in a thing that Mel Phillips was the main reason why she went, in terms of convincing her, obviously, to go to Brighton. It's a huge sign. It kind of went under the radar over the summer, but it was. When I saw that, I was like, granted, she only played about 10 minutes in the Champions League final, but she still played. And then to go to the team that finished second bottom in the WSL, it's like crazy.
Yeah, and not only that, I think Vicky Lassard is another one that sort of got under the radar. What are these doing here? What are they both doing at Brighton? But they've both said before, like, the project is why they've come to Brighton. The project just to help the youth through, to help Brighton, because the fact that they can see Brighton as an exciting project is exciting for us as fans. But now we just need to see it on the pitch, have these results, have this identity. And then once those players can help breed into the identity, help it grow, then we're on to a new generation and we'll be absolutely fine. It's just these first baby steps of a far bigger task is what we're doing at the moment.
No, for sure. And just while we're on this topic of players, obviously, that you signed, a player, Mara saying there about some players love a good project. I actually know for a fact Tatiana Pinto, a player that United were going for, obviously then went to Brighton for that reason, because she knew she was going to get game time and the project, obviously at Brighton for her on a personal level. She's slightly older than, I guess, some of the youngsters who've got in the squad. I think she's 29. So, but she's another player, came from a good side, obviously over in Spain, to Brighton, and I believe she started she definitely started the last few, or certainly played the last few. So again,
who put this project in place?
Sorry, I missed it. I'm not sure. I might have. What do you say?
Who put this project in place?
That is a very good question. I think everything at Brighton will stem from Tony Bloom. I think the owner has a very clear vision as to what he wants from the club. And I think it does help that he is a Brighton fan growing up. He's put his all money into this. He makes his money off of horse racing and off of poker, and he invests it back into the club. And I think that is a wonderful story you can all get behind. But no, I think he's seen where the club's,
to me.
He's seen where the club's been. We've been in a really dark place. We had to, obviously, the Goldstone had to play at Gillingham for a couple of years, then ran a running track at the Withdean, and now all of a sudden, ever since he's come in, we're just growing and growing and growing. And now I think the men's team have grown to a level not many of us would have ever expected. And I think Tony Bloom is thinking, there's no reason why we can't do this with the women's team. And I think Phillips was asking at the end of last season, we need a bit more investment, we need a bit more. And I think you've seen with the summer activity, we've had that more. There are players coming in, people are interested in this project. But I think it is all driven by a good owner who just loves the club, really.
Okay, my next question. Do you miss Polly Bancroft?
I don't know. I don't think so. Everything's okay at the moment.
Do you miss Myla Tissier?
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
Okay.
Wholeheartedly. Thank you very much for that. No. Yeah, I love Myla Tissier. I think she's absolutely brilliant. And I know Mia on here has this loving, and most of you have this loving for Millie Turner. Don't get me wrong. I think she is brilliant and is deserving of a place in that England team. But I just think Myla Tissier's different class, just pure class on the ball. And yeah, I'd love to have her back in that Brighton squad now. I think under Mel Phillips, she could be something quite special. But no, she's doing such a good job at Man United. I think most Brighton fans are really happy that she's growing and growing season upon season.
I finished my questions there.
I can't bring that up, John, but I have. I've seen your comment, and yeah, I tend to agree. Yeah, I think, as I said, I think Brighton are just a well-run club all around. Obviously, we're going to speak a little bit, obviously, about this project and obviously the stadium and things like that as well. But obviously the couple of the United players that went there, what have you made of those two then? Because again, players I don't think were, don't shoot me, but I don't think we're great in a United shirt in Thor and Sophie Bagley. But I don't think any United fan wished ill of them. Obviously, when they left, I think Maria in particular was a huge fan's favourite. Was very much that kind of person that you want around your squad, really, that kind of player. But what have you made of those two coming into this side from United?
Yeah, I think Maria's. I think a lot of fans were looking forward to seeing her come in. Obviously, coming from a team like Man United to Brighton, you are going to have that experience and that. And I think, especially the defence, we've needed someone like that for a good little while who can have command, who knows what's going on. And I think Maria gives that. And although the defence hasn't been great at the start of the season, I will think it gets better. And I think she will be a big part of that. And then Sophie in goal is weird because we bought Sophie in and then we bought Nikki Everard in on deadline day at the same time. So, and Malthus has said there's no set number one. So everyone's going to be chopping and changing. But I think Sophie played against Everton and a couple of games, and now Nikki's back playing a couple of games. So, and both are doing okay. I think Sophie, we won't have Nikki back after this season. I think Sophie, if she grows this season, I think she will be the number one heading into next season. I'm quite looking forward to seeing how she grows and develops at the club. But yeah, the Sophie one, I'm excited, but at the moment with Everard in, it's a bit like, I'm not too sure. But Maria, I'm really happy Maria is part of the squad.
I was going to say, Nikki Everard, it's just like the horde of Chelsea goalkeepers that they've just loaning out all over the place and still got three at their club that could all, stake a claim for starting with Musovic, Hampton, Berger. Like, they've just got so many goalkeepers, and like I said, Everard on loan as well. And they've got two very good ones coming through the youth system as well. So I don't know what's going on there. TJ's obviously talking about Fallon in goal again. Mary didn't have the best game against Belgium, did she? I've got to be honest. I think she should be saving the free kick.
I'll still sit there and say that we should be giving Fallon a start if Mary's not committing our future to us. But, equally, she did come fifth in the Ballon d'Or. So there is that. And Mia Zara, I think, came 11th or 12th. So, got a couple of big players there. It'd be silly, to take them off, wouldn't it, in that respect?
Yeah, I was going to say, congrats to them, but I think the Ballon d'Or is an absolute shambles. That needs a whole show, because I could rant about how the event and also the rankings, I think, just ridiculous where some of the players were on that list. No arguments with the winner, though, so nobody can come after me for that. Bon Massey very much deserved on that one. Yeah, TJ, I don't know what she's doing on that one. And yeah, I think Sporty sums up. Thor and Baggins, very solid pros, weren't going to take us maybe to the next level, but again, probably do a great job for Brighton. I think that's it. They need to move on for their own careers, and I hope they see them do well, just maybe not on Sunday when they play. Something I just wanted to mention, then, obviously, Barry, this game, again, this isn't really to do with the game itself. It's more, I guess, things around the game. But it's the reason I wanted to mention this, obviously, the kickoff time has been moved for this one, and it's a topic of conversation not just here in England, across Europe at the moment, with certain games in Germany being moved to late Sunday kickoffs. When it's, I think, speaking to Alina about it, Bayern have got an away game that's 6.5 hours away that's been moved to a late Sunday kickoff, 7 o'clock kind of time. It obviously kills it from that point of view. What do you think of this, I guess, balance between the fact that it's being broadcast more, and that's great, it needs to be on TV, but also the fact that it's I guess impacting match-going fans as well here, because I know loads of people, United fans, that were going to go down for this when it was 12:30, 2 o'clock kickoff, with it being 6:45 on a Sunday. For people who don't know, I guess the UK, that's at least 4 or 5 hours from Manchester to get down to Crawley where Brighton play. Obviously, can't go. Being a Sunday night, if you've got kids and that kind of thing, it's tougher. Where do you kind of stand on this? The fact that it was moved and that balance, finding the balance between TV and match going.
Well, I mean, this is it. You're talking about a balance, and no such thing. It's bizarre. We talk a lot about the men's game, and we've not had the chance on the men's channel to properly vent our spleen about what's going on there. But honestly, the balance, I think, for me, is going to be about the amount of money that comes into the game. I think this could be it. This could be the moment I get cancelled. I hope that the women's game doesn't get the level of money that the men's game has had. And I'll tell you why. Because it got too much. And I think it's completely changed how the men's game is viewed and how the players play. And I just think it's taken so much out of the game now. You know, I mean, if I could push a button to just revert something back to what it was like 100 years ago, I'd probably choose men's football as that button. I'd love to just see them back to playing football for the love of football and not for the money. So the reason why I say that, though, is because everybody here is advocating for better in the women's game, better coverage, whether that be from journalists or whether that be from the TV, better support, having better facilities, all of those things we want. And if we're going to want those things, then we need to build the viewership. Now, the problem you've got, and I'm just going to be pragmatic about it, the problem you've got, and the pure, actual, honest to God way that it is that the Premier League is going to be playing at 2 and 4:30. Now, you've got Forest and Villa and Luton against Liverpool. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. Neither of those games make me go, oh. So I feel like Super Sunday might be taking the Michael somewhat. But to me, the big game on the Sunday, when you look at those games, is Arsenal, obviously, against Man City. That's a huge game. Hence why it's a 12:30 one, because it's the one that they hope everybody's going to sit and watch. You then got the 2 to 3 o'clock bits. Those games are going to be tricky because the only people that are going to be watching that are the ones that are specific women's fans over men's football. And that's where you're trying to get some eyes on the product. And I think if you're trying to do that, you've then got to try and think about where games are being played. For me, the problem is that everything's on a Sunday. And you could say, well, move the women's game to a Saturday and then it can be televised on a Saturday. But the whole purpose of them not televising football at 3 o'clock on a Saturday is because if we do that, all of a sudden all these people that have had tickets are going to go, what? Go out and watch football when I could just sit at home and watch on the telly? What sort of moron would want to do that? No, thank you, love. I'm going to pay Sky £60 and I'm going to sit here and watch it so I can have Gary Neville tell me what's going on. No true football fan's going to do that. It's a complete fallacy. Instead, what it does, it just causes problems. I think if we had that, you could then get the men's game a bit more like it is in America, where you just get the games on demand. And then as a result of that, because you could just see your team play, it doesn't matter what time they play. So you wouldn't need a Super Sunday. And then what you could end up having is a Sunday where the games are actually spread out a little bit better. And you could have your better times. You could have a 12 o'clock kickoff, a 2 o'clock kickoff, and a 4 o'clock kickoff, and it wouldn't be so bad. Of course, you're going to sit there and look at those games and think, well, who should be the 6:45 one? But you've got West Ham, Bristol. That's a long trip. You know, that's 3 or 4 hours for the people that are going to there. Spurs against Everton, not great. Liverpool against Leicester, probably could have been moved to 6:45. But then you've got the question, does anybody want to watch Liverpool v Leicester? Is it the sort of game? And this is your problem. So we're in a serious problem in that respect. You've got to, the balance for me isn't between TV and all that sort of stuff. It's between match going fans and match watching fans. For me, that's brilliant. You know, this evening's game is going to finish by that time, so I'll actually be able to get home and watch that on Sky Sports without any major problems. For me, that's a win. And this is the problem. There's going to be people that don't go to the games necessarily and are going to sit there and go, oh, yeah, brilliant. United on the telly and I can watch that and that will hopefully really end my weekend well. But for the match-going fans, and I know them all, you know, the likes of people who had on here, you know, the likes of Deggs and Mark and Jess, if she goes, all of these people, Charlie, when they start going to the game, that's a ridiculously long journey. But that is football. Whether you do that on a Saturday, whether you do that on a Sunday, that's what it's all about. We weren't moaning when we went to Paris, and that was on a Tuesday night or a Wednesday night. You know, you just have to change your plans. So it's not nice. I get it. But equally, are we not in a situation of, you know, the game needing to grow? And if the game needs to grow, then we need to have a better way. Can I just point out, because it's coming up now and I'm getting shouted at by the Yanks. When I said games on demand, what I mean by that is you can get like the NFL Game Pass, can't you? So every time your team plays, you just buy that season ticket and you can just watch your team whenever they're playing. So on demand was the wrong word. I was using that sort of, you can just sit and watch it, whenever the game is on. You don't have to sit there and go, oh, let's just hold on and watch match of the day at 10:45, or get some sort of dodgy stream on Twitter. So sorry about that, but that's what I meant. You can get a Game Pass and just watch it when you. I'm going to shut up now because I feel like I'm just digging a hole.
No, I agree. Well, in most countries across the world, you can watch most of the games live, whereas over here, certainly for the Premier League, you can't. Obviously, as you mentioned, the 3 p.m. blackout. There was talk, obviously, for something I think in that Karen Carney thing that there was talk that blackout would be removed for the women's game. I think it should be. I think it should be for the women's game, so you're not then competing. People can watch it. I just think, as you said, there's a fine. Like for me, that's now not going to Brighton because of this kickoff time. Obviously, it's annoying because it's like I would have gone if it was a bit earlier in the day potentially, but I've chose this game as the one to miss this month. Because of that reason, because it's later on the day, and because I know I can watch it on TV. Whereas the Conti Cup games, got no idea whether they're going to be televised or not. And you've got the FA player, which does what it does, but it's not always reliable. So
I've got no idea how you watch the NWSL. People, I don't even watch the NWSL. I'm not even sure what that stands for. Is that the National Water Sports League? I don't know. I
can't believe you just said that.
Just in the NFL Game Pass, you can buy it and watch them all. I wasn't talking about proper football. I was talking about American football, aka rugby. Please stop shouting at me. I knew what I meant.
Oh dear, Sean, what's your thoughts on this?
Thank you, Sean.
I was going to say, I don't know what else to add there. I feel like we've covered every base there, but no, I just feel like it's a process. It's a growing process that the women's game has to go through. It's just teething issues. We're going to find something eventually that will work for everyone, hopefully, or the vast majority. But it is what it is. I do agree it is a little silly having Man United come all the way down to Crawley on a Sunday night. It's the same issue with the men's. For some reason, Sky seem to love having Newcastle travel down to Brighton at 4:30 on a Sunday. And it's just one of those things. I don't know why they do it, and we will get to a stage where everything will be more accessible. People will be able to get to places, but it's just a part of the growing process.
No, I tend to agree. The NWSL will now be known as the National Water Sports League.
You can't call it a National Women's Swear Word, dude. We're not having that. It's ridiculous. But I could live with it if American football was actually played with their feet, but it's not. So, they've just taken a word. That should be the American Handball League. It's outrageous. But
we love a bit of American football sometimes.
This is also true what NT says. If we didn't have pointless international games, it might help with the schedule a bit.
Well, there is that as well. As I said, there's literally another one in 4 weeks' time at the end of this month, the start of December. I just don't get it. I was going to say, everyone's made a good point. If anyone saw that, it certainly was. If anyone saw that pitch, jeez. How didn't the game go ahead again? They stopped it for a period, didn't they, and then carried on. I don't know how, because that pitch was not playable in any state. But
I saw a brilliant one that was called off the other Sunday, where the water just literally, it was like a swimming pool. There was just one tiny little bit green that you could get to. The poor groundsman was going out in his wellies and a bucket. So that wasn't going to happen. It was like trying to save the Titanic. It was gone.
I was going to say, yeah, it mental. The ball wasn't moving. They pass it and it stopped. I don't know how they played that. They were basically underwater, them lot. So, yeah, that was a crazy, crazy game.
Oh, that was the UWSL. The Underwater Swear Word League.
Oh, dear. While we're off topic crazily and then talking about all this kind of thing, Sean, I'm going to ask you an important question. I think I know what your answer's going to be, and I'm just going to log off.
We all know what the answer's going to be.
Oh, dear. So, obviously, you know Mia as well. Mia came up with a different kind of answer. She didn't answer it in the way that I thought, but I'm going to ask you, and then we can talk about it and dissect your answer. So, do you eat burgers by any chance?
I am, in fact, going to cook a burger later on tonight.
This is perfect timing. When you eat it, Are you going to be picking it up? Are you going to use a knife and fork and cut it apart? Don't be influenced by what Barry's doing. But what way are you going to eat it?
I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to eat it. However, I understand if there's more than a couple of patties, fair enough. You eat with a knife and fork. I can understand that. It makes life cleaner and simpler. I can understand that. However, if you are having just one burger with buns, just eat it with your hands. It's not going to be difficult. It's not going to slide. It's going to slide out, but you just deal with it. It's the way it was meant to be eaten. It's the way it was created. You eat with your hands.
Connor doesn't like to. He likes to get a knife and fork out. But I've actually come up with an idea. I think I can give you a bit of a cost-saving exercise as well here, Connor, because looking at that throw, I reckon you must spend a fair amount on Brill Cream unless they're actually giving you, some sort of sponsorship. So I reckon if you actually ate your burger with your hands, you get so much grease on it, you could just... What a saving that could be. Amazing.
I don't put any product in this hair at all. This is au natural.
Me neither.
No, I can understand the problem, but my point is the Neanderthals didn't have knives and forks, and they went okay, didn't they? So we'll be okay.
They were going around hunting and doing. We've evolved since then. That's my point.
I was going to say they did also die at about 30. So
yeah. But we didn't also invent knives and forks and not use them. That's my point.
Do you eat your pizza with a knife and fork?
No, sometimes, but no, not most. Most of the time, no. Okay. No, but no. The only burger I'll eat with my hands is like a McDonald's one, because obviously they're quite small and things like that. But anything in a restaurant or anything like that, I will cut it. This is where Barry's going to get triggered again, but I deconstruct it, which defeats the whole point I know of having a burger. But I literally take it apart. So.
Why? Is it just a mental thing that you can't eat it as a whole?
It's mental.
We need to be absolutely mental.
Yeah, it's certainly not. I don't know. I do it that way. Mia said something really. She turns it upside down or something, doesn't she? I can't remember what she said, but it was something crazy.
I'll be honest. Nothing that Mia says surprises me anymore. So
honestly,
I'd leave her be.
Rumor has it. Connor put it on his Tinder profile that he ate his burgers with his knife and fork, and that's why I really keep swiping the other direction. He just ate his burgers normally. They're like, nice hair. Oh, no, he eats burgers with a knife and fork.
I'm going back to this. It certainly is. I tell you, it's the most important question of the show.
It is, Imara, and that's why they get to come on, because, literally, let's be honest, it's only because Connor owns the place that we allow him to come back in. There's rules of his.
Oh,
That's a Superman. That's great.
Yeah, it's certainly. Sporty's got it on the pizza front as well. Correct answer. I don't even know. These shows always go like this. I don't even know what the next. There's not even another question. I just thought I'd ask that at the end, because we always get around to that front every time. Hang on, what's this? I don't think we've. Sarah did.
Yeah, Sarah Sproston.
Sarah did. Yes.
And Imara, has she been on since?
Someone else did, but I can't remember who it was. Again, I don't think they've been back on it.
They weren't memorable.
It's bad, isn't it? Yeah. We'll find somebody else. Maybe that's how I scout the guests. Put a poll on Twitter and the one.
Have you seen The Lion King, Sean?
Oh God.
I have seen The Lion King. Yes.
See? It's a normal
job. But I haven't watched many cult classics, though. I'm a terrible, terrible film goer. Your Star Wars, your Indiana Jones, your James Bond. Not a clue. Not a clue.
Okay.
That's fair.
I have to say, Connor, I was at training last night, and I was talking to Toby. He's an 18-year-old who's helping out with the coaching of the under-23s. And I asked him if he'd seen The Little Mermaid. And just no, he's barely watched any Disney films. And then he said to me something quite interesting. I've only watched about 20 films in my life. And I thought to myself, you sound exactly like Connor. So I asked him why it was that he didn't watch The Little Mermaid. And he said to me, well, because I didn't grow up, Barry, fantasizing about being a mermaid. And I'm like, okay, that's a really weird thing to say, but all right. So I asked him what the last film that he watched was, and you'll be pleased to know it was Frozen. So he didn't grow up wanting to be a mermaid, just a princess, apparently. And that one was all right. So I don't know. It's very, very strange. But I think it is just a young thing now. Maybe you guys just don't watch films anymore like we used to.
I think I watch the odd occasion. I love Pulp Fiction. Don't get me wrong. I think last film I saw was the Luther film, and that was great. Love Luther, but yeah, the classics I am very much not. Don't bother. Same with TV shows, Game of Thrones, not a clue. Although Harry Potter, I am all for.
You like Harry Potter?
Yes.
Love Harry Potter.
Sean can come back on anytime he likes. Connor, breaking news. I've channeled my inner Wallace from Wallace and Gromit. I was cracking cheese from it. Look at this.
That's a revelation. Half that is.
That is absolutely amazing. I once went to the Wren after a game for Man United and ordered a ham and pineapple pizza purely because I knew it was going to wind everybody, including Connor, up. Love a ham and pineapple pizza. So yeah, good news.
Shocking. This whole channel needs we need like a subsidiary channel just to talk about like food and films and things. Me and Charlie were actually deep in debate yesterday. Well, not in debate. She was more in disgust that I admitted to it. She was reading off all these Marvel and DC films that she's seen, and I was just like, yeah, never heard of that, never seen that. So yeah, that wasn't. She wasn't very happy with me yesterday. But yeah, indeed, could go along with Emma Watson, couldn't she? So it would work out nice then. I don't know. Where are we going with this? Should we just come to score predictions?
I think that's a roundabout place to go to. So I'm not sure that the show is salvageable from an analysis point of view anymore.
We've pretty much covered the game. So go on then. What's your... or just very quickly before we move on to the score predictions. Me personally, I've been about 7 or 8 times. I've been a lot.
Really?
Yeah, I've been quite a lot. So
have you ever watched Harry Potter?
Oh, loads of times. It's my most watched film by far.
Connor, I mean, we're down here.
I've never read the books, but I've watched the films like multiple times. It's annoying me actually that they're redoing the films and having new actors. And I'm not a fan of
that. Twice is the answer to that question. I think. Yes, twice. Once with university and once I took my nephews and nieces. And great fun it was too. Loved it.
Sean, have you heard anything?
Just the once. Just the once. It's expensive coming from Cardiff up to what?
It's just
been the once, but I loved it.
It certainly is a good place. They change every year as well.
Don't know what you think, but whatever happens, wherever you go around that, nothing is better than that moment when you walk into the last room and you see the miniature version that they built of Hogwarts. That's absolutely unreal, the level of effort and detail they put into that. And rumour has it that is the level of detail that went into Connor's hair. It's unbelievable. You lift it up, there's people under there. It's unreal.
Next Tuesday, this is getting cut. Thank everything, because it's getting ridiculously long. John, I don't know whether he's in the comments tonight, has said that he's going to start the 3 foot tall chant, not 2 foot anymore, because it is getting to that point now. There we are. There's some score predictions in the chat then. So what's everyone going for? There's a 4-0, a 2-2, a 2-2 draw. Of course, you're not going to predict United to win. United 3-1, 4-2, 4-0. What are we saying on this one? Go on, Sean. I'll throw it over to you first. What are you saying?
I'm feeling it's going to resemble more the Cup semi-final than it is the 4-0 that we had later in the season. I think it was 4-0 that you beat us down at Crawley. I think it is going to be... I don't see Brighton keeping a clean sheet, but I don't think United are going to keep a clean sheet either. And I think we could get a draw. I'll never predict Brighton to lose. That's not what I'm here for. But I can generally see a world where a 2-2 could happen for sure.
Interesting. I'm caught in two minds. I'm going to say if he keeps the same starting lineup, it could be 5 or 6. But it's Mark Skinner, and we know what he's like. So he's probably not going to listen to me this time. So I reckon he's going to change it, and I'm going to go 3-0.
Yeah, 3-0 was where I was leaning towards as well. I think, no, 3-1 actually. I backed Turland to score. Not that I want it to happen. We need to start keeping more clean sheets consecutively like we did last season. But yeah, I think 3-1 is, I don't know. Just very quickly, Sporty, that's what I was on about. The fact they're redoing, in this whole TV, and just like the cast that was in Harry Potter, that is the cast. I don't care who comes after that, because there's going to be a whole generation of kids or whatever that grow up with the new one that are going to go, oh, that was my no. Daniel Radcliffe is Harry Potter, and all these kind of things. Like,
I'd quite like them to do the Cursed Child, because that's only been on as a play, hasn't it? So I'd like them to do that. But other than that, I did also hear they're not going to do any more of the Fantastic Beast ones. It didn't go too well, so.
Yeah, that's probably a good thing. So, of course, Sean has been brilliant on this one. So, yes, he'll be back. That's for sure. There's some. I'll come back to it in a second, actually. But we will be seeing each other in a couple of weeks. So you might see him on the channel if we decide to vlog that day. Welcome to the channel. Not seen you before. Obviously, can't wait going on the supporters coach for the first time. Hope you have a great time on there. I'm sure you will. And credit to the sports club again for putting on travel like that, because I think a lot.
I'll tell you what. Leroy? Do you watch the old channel quite a bit? Because if you do, you'll see the superstar that is Andrew Wall, because he's completely mugged off Connor for this one. Didn't want to go in the car with Connor this time. He wanted to sample the delights of the supporters coach. So there you go. You can be our eyes and ears to make sure that Andrew Wall behaves himself.
Indeed. So yeah, if you do watch the channel, Andrew, Charlie, Deb, Mark, Shane, Slater, all these kinds of people that you're used to seeing will be on that coach as well. So yeah, like I said, fair play to the supporters club for putting that travel on. So I don't think many fans are driving down.
Charlie will charge if you ask for autographs and photos. So
she won't even have a photo of me. So
to be fair, the charge is usually chocolate buttons.
Oh dear. And just very quickly on this comment, because I think you commented on the video the other day saying obviously you wanted to play a front two. Do you think he'll go to a back three? For me, absolutely no chance. And I'll be annoyed if he does. We don't have the players for that.
It'll be the four: Blundell, Lettice, Turner, Jade. Done.
Yeah, I agree. There's no need to change it. It's worked. They're fit. Just stick that same back four. No need to change that one. Sean, before we wrap this one up, then, is there anything you want to shout? Obviously, I know that you write. Obviously, you do work with Vavel as well. Another Vavel person on the channel. I think we're up to what are we on now, 3 or 4. We'll have you all on by the end of the year. But yeah, is there anything you want to shout? Obviously, your Twitter is in the thing there as well.
Yeah, my Twitter's there. I basically spend most of my weekends covering the Welsh League, and we've got a really interesting Welsh League at the moment. We've got Cardiff City, Swansea City, obviously Wrexham now in this league, all the Hollywood stuff. Oh, don't worry, it's all there in the women's game as well. But if you're ever interested in that, anything Wales related, that's where you'll find me. So yeah, give me a follow for anything Wales related. And no, thank you so much for having me on. If you'd have asked me, what do you expect from this conversation? I wouldn't have said anything that we mentioned tonight. But no, it's been a real joy. Thank you so much for having me.
No, absolutely no. Well, I never know where these shows are going to end up. I write a few questions down. I think it's going to go off the rails.
It's usually me that derails it, to be fair. I'm like leaves on the track. And I'm going to do it again right now, because we were talking about Wales, and I'm going to ask what's probably quite a dumb question now. But for the women's teams, for the teams that were in Wales, do they have their own Welsh league, or are they still playing in some of the other ones?
No, so there is a Welsh League, Wales fighting. So the male equivalent, Cardiff City's female team, they play in Wales. Swansea City's female team, they play in Wales. The only Welsh team that is in England is Cardiff City Ladies. So there is a Cardiff City Women and a Cardiff City Ladies. Cardiff City Ladies is one in the third in the National League. Cardiff City Women, Welsh League.
Because most of them lower down are, to be fair, quite regionalised. So I was just intrigued by that one. So there you go. Sorry, I finished that, Connor. That was just a personal question. I probably could have waited till afterwards, but
no, and they are TJ.
Very good team in the Welsh League. They only just got promoted to the top tier, but they've got a striker called Rosie Hughes, and this weekend she scored 100th goal, and she's done it in 46 games.
Blimey.
Absolutely insane record. And a real character as well. A real character as well.
What was her name again?
Rosie Hughes.
Skinner.
Be keeping an eye on that one. But as I said, obviously earlier on, we got obviously Ladd and Evans, and one of my. She's slowly becoming one of my favourite players, obviously, in Saf Middleton Patel. We've not seen her play too much, but I think just as a person, she just seems like a cool person to be around. I had a brief chat with her at Everton away, when she came in front of us, and the fact that, again, just a brilliant person to have around the squad. So I'm excited to see her, actually. Hopefully she just gets some games for United in the near future. She's still relatively young as well on that one.
Sure.
And yes, they did. Of course, they're not going to not document it, are they? Them Wrexham lads. So yes, it's all over there as well.
It'll just be interesting to see what they do, because if they do really well and they start to dominate the Welsh League, one would assume that they would potentially be petitioning to go into a different league, potentially, depending on how it goes. But I don't know. Like, that was what a lot of the Welsh men's teams did in the end. So it would just be really intriguing to see whether or not they just want to dominate the Welsh League, or whether or not it would grow bigger. I think that's got some real mileage in it in terms of being a story over the next few years, seeing what they do. So it just goes to show it doesn't matter where you look, there's massive stories all across the women's pyramid.
There we are, exactly.
Yeah, we'll see. I think they're very much concentrated on winning Welsh League. Then, obviously, Welsh League, you get Champions League if you win that. So I think that's the dreams. Wrexham in Europe.
We don't talk about that here. It's a rubbish competition.
Yeah,
it's all about the Country Cup, mate.
Yeah, indeed. On that, actually, obviously, that starts pretty next week against Everton at home, obviously, on that front. So, yeah, when we're next going to be live, obviously, Monday, Brighton match reaction. Obviously, then we've got a chocker fixture list then, obviously, with Everton and the Conti Cup. Then we've got the West Ham game, the Manchester derby at Old Trafford, Liverpool away, Bristol away. Hectic month. So, yeah, we've got plenty of shows coming up. We do have a special kind of mini vlog thing coming up. We're hoping to bring the match day vlogs back, but we'll have another vlog for the Football Content Awards, which you should hopefully see Sean on it, because I'm going to rope him in. I'll get him on camera. So you'll see us there. Obviously, Sean representing Vavel as well, along with Mia, who people will have seen on the channel as well. And obviously, myself, Jess, and Andrew, who's in the comments saying he's always well behaved. We'll see after a few drinks on awards night.
I'll see the pictures of him asleep at the Stour.
On that front, we'll obviously be going from an Awful United point of view as well. So, yeah, plenty of stuff to keep an eye on. And as we saw earlier, transfer news can drop at any point. So if there are some breaking news things, we'll be live to cover all of that as well. Make sure you're following Sean, like the video, and subscribe if you haven't already. Barry's got a shout out.
Don't forget your predictions. Get them in, guys and girls. Get them in. Predictions. Last call. Platform 3.
I forgot about that, actually. So thanks for that. And I did the tweet earlier. Yes, so obviously if you're on the Predictions League, make sure you send them in before kickoff on Saturday, because there is obviously the Saturday kickoff on that one as well. Thanks to everyone in the comments. As I said, make sure you're liking the video, subscribing, all of that stuff. Come follow us on Twitter, allforunitedwids. We shall see you guys in the next one.